أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي العربي القرشي المكي المدني الهاشمي صاحب قاب قوسين محبوب رب المشرقين والمغربين، جد الحسن والحسين النبي الحرمين والإمام القبلتين والرسول الثقلين، الذين سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتخبين المنتجبين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء، واللعنة الدائمة الباقية على أعدائهم ومنكر فضائلهم وغاصب حقوقهم أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم وهو أصدق القائلين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فمن حاجك فيه من بعد ما جاءك من العلم فقل تعالوا ندعو أبناءنا وأبناءكم ونساءنا ونساءكم وأنفسنا وأنفسكم ثم نبتهل فنجعل لعنة الله على الكاذبين. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. For the honor of the Holy Five, can we have a second salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad? And to hasten the reappearance of our awaited Imam, can we have a third one in your loudest voices? The event of Mubahala is perhaps one of the most profound events in the history of the life of the Holy Prophet of Islam. It is an event which takes place on the 24th of the Hijjah, either in the 9th or the 10th year after Hijrah. It's an event that is in the final years of the Holy Prophet of Islam's life. There is many important lessons within this event, and what transpires in this event, and how this event remains a relevant event to our lives today. Before I talk about the event itself, the overriding principle, or what happens on this day, is summarized by the fact that truth on this day is victorious. There is the victory for those who are truthful, and falsehood and lie is defeated as a result of what transpires on this day. This tells us, or highlights to us, underlines to us, before anything else that this incident tells us, about the importance and the emphasis religion of Islam places on the truth. One small incident will help us to understand how important it is. A Bedouin comes to the Holy Prophet of Islam and he says, "O Muhammad, I like a lot of things in your religion and I am willing to become a Muslim. However, I have many bad habits in my life and I'm only willing to give up one of them. I'll become Muslim, but I'm only willing to give up one of these habits that I have." The Holy Prophet of Islam, what does he say to him? Does he talk about prayer? Does he talk about fasting? Does he talk about any kind of action that we might think that he might talk about? He doesn't. He says to the Bedouin, "Don't tell a lie." The Bedouin said, "I'm willing to give up one thing. The Holy Prophet of Islam said, don't tell a lie. This Bedouin walks away. He thinks this is very easy. He walks away. Now, he goes to the marketplace. He's a habitual shoplifter. He goes to the marketplace. He wants to take something he likes. As he's about to take it, he thinks to himself. He thinks, if I take this, and then I put it on, and I go to the Prophet, and he asks me, where did you get it from? I'll have to lie. So he doesn't take it. Then, he's fond of the drink as well. He wants to go to the pub. What we might call the pub now. Now he thinks, if I go, then after that I go and see the Prophet. He says, where are you coming from? I'll have to tell a lie. Eventually, he leaves all of these things. He comes to the Holy Prophet of Islam. And he says, you told me don't tell a lie. And because of this, I've left all of my bad habits. I've left all of my bad habits just because you told me don't tell a lie. Holy Prophet of Islam says, famous narration, alaykum bis-sidq. Upon you is the obligation to speak the truth. Why? This story gives us an insight into why truth is so important. But the Holy Prophet of Islam further explains. He says, inna sidqa babun min abwabil jannah. Surely truth is one of the doors amongst the many doors of paradise. Anyone who wants to go to paradise, this is the door to paradise, to tell the truth, to speak the truth. Our sixth holy Imam, when he's talking about believers, he says, you want to find out whether you should trust this person or not. You want to find out whether this person is reliable or not. What should you do? Holy Sixth Imam says, don't look at his prayer. Don't look at his fasting. Look at two things. What are they? Say, look at the fact that when he promises something, does he keep his promise? Is he truthful when it comes to promises? And when you leave something with him as an amana, when you entrust him with something, does he return it back to you? No wonder that Holy Prophet of Islam, when he came in Makkah, before the announcement of prophethood, what did they used to call him? As-Sadiq and Al-Amin. The truthful one and the trustworthy one. If I term it in another way, I would say that for 40 years of his life, the Holy Prophet of Islam gets people to recite the kalima of his truthfulness. Once they attest to his truthfulness, then he says, say La ilaha illallah. Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa alihi. For 40 years he gets people to say, he's truthful. Once they attest to that, then he tells them, say La ilaha illallah. You've already attested that he's truthful. You've already said that you never heard him tell a lie. Now, he's telling you, he's inviting you towards eternal salvation, and you've never heard him tell a lie. So this is truthfulness, religion of Islam. The basis of everything in this religion is based on truth. Now, this incident of Mubahala, how does this relate to truthfulness? Why is this the victory of truth? Why is this such an important incident? What is the lessons, or what are the lessons that we get from this particular incident? So, once Islam has spread throughout the Arabian Peninsula, most of the people in this peninsula have become Muslims. There are some groups of people, tribes of people, pockets of individuals which remain, who have not yet accepted the religion of Islam. What does the Holy Prophet of Islam do? Notice there's a very important lesson here. Before the beginning of Mubahala, there's an important lesson. Holy Prophet of Islam has control over the whole Arabian Peninsula. A few groups of people here and there are not Muslims. In other words, Holy Prophet of Islam is powerful. They, in comparison, have no power. It's very easy for the Holy Prophet of Islam to send out armies and attack them. Say, you have to accept the religion of Islam, otherwise we're going to kill you. It's very easy. He has the power. They don't have any power in comparison. Yet the Holy Prophet of Islam doesn't do this. He can, but he doesn't do this. What does he do? He writes letters to these people. He writes letters to these people, inviting them to religion of Islam. One of the groups of people that he writes a letter to are the people of Najran. They are Christians. So he writes a letter. He starts the letter by saying, I begin in the name of Allah, the same Allah who sent Ibrahim and Ishaq and Yaqub. Why does he mention these prophets? He's telling them, you believe in these prophets as well, and we believe in them. This is what we have in common. Holy Prophet of Islam is teaching us, you and me, the etiquette of dialogue. If you want to speak to somebody, if you want to have dialogue with somebody, find the similarities, find the commonalities. Use the commonalities to start the discussion. Use those things which you have in common to start the discussion. So he writes a letter. In response to this letter, the top priests of Najran, they come to Medina. When they receive this letter, they come to Medina. Now, they're thinking, what do they think? They think Holy Prophet of Islam has total control over the Muslim world, over this whole Arabian Peninsula. They think he's going to be like the kings are in the past. What were the kings like in the past? They would have big palaces, they would have lots of servants, they would have lots of people waiting around them. This is what they expect. So what do? They dress in such a way that they think that they're going to meet some kind of emperor, some kind of king. They wear rings of gold, they wear clothes made of silk, they dress to impress. Then they come to the Holy Prophet of Islam. They arrive in Medina, they ask, where's the Holy Prophet? He's in the masjid. They go into the masjid. When the Holy Prophet of Islam sees them, he turns his face away. When the Holy Prophet of Islam sees them, he turns his face away. Now they're confused. They think, he wrote this letter to us. We've come to him in response to this letter, and yet he's turned his face away. So now they're asking people, what's the issue? Why has the Holy Prophet turned his face away? Nobody knows. Everybody's confused as them. Until one point that Salman comes into the masjid, he asks, he says, what's going on? He says, this is the problem. We've come in response to this letter and he's just turned his face away. He won't speak to us. Salman says, I'll take you to the person who can tell you why he's done this. I'll take you to the one who will tell you why he's done this, because there's only one who can tell you what the Holy Prophet does and why he does that. So he takes him to Amirul Mu'mineen. Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam looks at them and he says, did you go to the Holy Prophet looking like this? And they said, yes. He said, that's why he turned his face away. Another lesson, let's stop here, there's another lesson here. In Islam, the batin, the inner is important. But the zahir, the apparent is also important. If it wasn't important, the Holy Prophet of Islam wouldn't have done this. He's telling us that what is inside should be reflected on the outside. You hear a lot of people say, we don't do hijab because we have Islam on the inside. We don't have a beard, we have Islam on the inside. Holy Prophet of Islam says, with his action, he doesn't say anything. He demonstrates. He shows us that the inside and the outside should be consistent with one another. The inside should be reflected on the outside. The outside should accurately portray what you have inside. Why did he do this? He wanted to show, he said, these people who've come, they claim to be the spiritual leaders of the community. Yet, they're wearing gold, they're wearing silk. i.e. they're being extravagant instead of being spiritual. If you want to be spiritual, you have to be humble. This is what the Holy Prophet ﷺ is demonstrating. He doesn't say anything. Amirul Mu'mineen says it to tell us that there's only one person in Medina who knows what the Holy Prophet of Islam thinks. There's only one man who knows what the Holy Prophet thinks. So they say, well, what should we do? So we'll go back, change into something more humble and appropriate, and then come back and see what the Holy Prophet's response is. So they go back. They change into normal clothes. Now when they come back, the Holy Prophet of Islam welcomes them. The Holy Prophet of Islam welcomes them. Now he says, sit down. Let's have a discussion. Holy Prophet of Islam knows he's on the truth. Holy Prophet knows he's on the truth. Yet he's still showing us that this is the way to have dialogue with people. Listen to what they have to say. Entertain their points, entertain their arguments, entertain their questions. Then come with your own. What do they say? They come to the Holy Prophet of Islam and they say that our point of contention is that we believe Isa alayhi salam, Jesus Christ, is the Son of God. So Holy Prophet says, why do you believe this? He asks them. He's teaching us etiquette of dialogue. Not just, okay, this person believes something different to me, I go straight out and go and attack him. I say you're wrong, you're going to go to hell. Did the Holy Prophet of Islam say this? No. He asks them, why do you believe this? So not only do you entertain what the other person has to say, you try and understand why they believe it, so that you can answer them appropriately. You can answer them in the way that is appropriate for them to be answered. Now, they say, we believe that Jesus alayhi salam is the Son of God because He doesn't have a father. We say that He is the Son of God because He didn't have a father. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down a verse. Inna mathala Isa indallahi ka mathali Adam khalaqahu min turab thumma qala kun fayakun. It's verse number 59 of Surah Al-Imran. When they said, we believe Jesus Christ alayhi salam is the Son of God because He didn't have a father, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, tell them that Adam alayhi salam deserves to be Son of God more than Isa, because he didn't have a mother or a father. And as far as Allah is concerned, the likeness of Isa is exactly the same as of Adam. خَلَقَهُ مِن تُرَابٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him from the clay. ثُمَّ قَالَ, then He said, كُن فَيَكُونَ, be, and he became. Our sixth holy Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, in explanation of this kun fayakun, says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need to say kun. He doesn't need to say be. This is only to explain to you that His intention and His action, there's no difference between it. Human intention and action, there's a distance between them. We intend to do many things, but we don't do them. We don't intend to do certain things, but we still do them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's intention and action, there's no difference between it. When He wants something to happen, when He wants something to be created, it will be created. They are not convinced by this reasoning. They continue to argue that we believe He's the Son of God. Allah reveals another verse, the following verse, verse number 60. وَالْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكَ, and the truth is with your Lord. وَلَا تَكُنْ مِنَ الْمُمْتَرِينَ, and don't be amongst those who doubt. They're still insistent. Now another verse comes down. This is verse number 61, the verse of Mubahala. They insist. First what's the etiquette? First the Holy Prophet of Islam invites them. Then he listens to what they have to say. Then he entertains their reasoning. Then he replies to their reasoning. After all of this, when they don't bring any more new reasoning, and the reasoning has been exhausted, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals the verse. فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. Now those who continue to argue with you, who continue to debate with you, after the knowledge has come to them. This tells us one more thing, that Quran is not sufficient. If Quran was sufficient, this verse would have been enough. There would have been no need for Mubahala. The verse came down. Adam and Isa are exactly the same. They weren't convinced. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says they still argue with you even though verse of Holy Quran has come down. It proves to us that Quran is not enough. فَقُلْ تَعَالَوْا, now tell them, come. نَدْعُوا أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ, we'll bring our sons, you bring your sons. وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ, you bring your women, we'll bring our women. وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ, and you bring yourselves and we will bring ourselves. ثُمَّ نَبْتَهِلْ فَنَجْعَلْ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْكَاذِبِينَ, then we will do the Mubahala. What does Mubahala mean? Mubahala means for two groups of people, when they have a debate, to come together and then pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show the true outcome. This is Mubahala. So they say, once we've listened to what they had to say, once we heard their arguments, once we replied to their arguments, they still weren't convinced, now we invited them for Mubahala. And what are we going to do in the Mubahala? We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَنَجْعَلْ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْكَاذِبِينَ, we will pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send the la'na upon those who lie. We will pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send the la'na upon those who lie. Now here's something is important to mention. Often translated in English, la'na as curse. Curse is a bad word. La'na is a good word. Translation is not correct. If something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does, can't say it's bad. Curse, for sure we know it's bad. Connotations are bad. So la'na has to mean something else. What does la'na mean? Arabic language, la'na means the opposite of salawat. Can we have a salawat ala Muhammad wa alayhi? What is meaning of salawat? Oh Allah, send your blessings upon Muhammad and his progeny. La'na is opposite of salawat. Which means what? Oh Allah, remove your blessings from so and so. So this prayer is to remove the blessings from the person who lies. Now what happens? Now this incident takes place in the final years of the Holy Prophet of Islam's life. Whole of Medina is Muslim, whole of the Arabian Peninsula is Muslim. There's so many people to choose from. Abu al-Harith, who is the leader of the people of Najran, he says to his people, tomorrow, if Muhammad comes out with his companions, then do the Mubahala. But if he comes out with his family, then never ever do the Mubahala. Why does he say this? For what reason does he say this? He knows that in previous scriptures, in previous times, in previous prophets' times, what happened? When the times became tough, the people left the prophets. The companions left the prophets. Whether it was in the time of Bani Israel, they left Musa alayhi salam. When it came to Hazrat Isa alayhi salam's time, Jesus Christ alayhi salam's time, he was betrayed by his own companion. Correct? So all the previous prophets, the companions had been those who, when the times got tough, they left him. He says, if the claim is true, he will bring his family. If he doesn't bring his family, if he brings the companions, then you know the claim is not true. So what happens? On the night before the Mubahala is to take place, in the morning of the 24th of the Hijjah, in the morning, Holy Prophet of Islam orders Salman, says to Salman, I want you to go to this place where we've agreed to have the Mubahala and to place the tent so that we can do the Mubahala there. Even this companion who's chosen to go and put the tent up, he's minna Ahlulbayt. Holy Prophet of Islam says, Salman, minna Ahlulbayt. Even the companion who's chosen to go to that place of Mubahala is minna Ahlulbayt. So he puts up the tent. Now, whole of Medina is waiting. They've heard the announcement of Mubahala. Tomorrow morning the Mubahala is going to take place. Whole of Medina is waiting. They're waiting to see who the Holy Prophet of Islam takes. Because the commandment is wide open. What does the Holy Quran say? Abnana wa abnakum, wa nisana wa nisakum, wa anfusana wa anfusakum. All three of these categories, the plural is used in Arabic. Those who are familiar with Arabic know that in the Arabic language, unlike other languages, there is a singular, then there's a dual, and then there's a plural. So plural is three or more. Plural in Arabic is three or more. So everyone's waiting that there's so much scope for people to be taken. The plural has been used in this verse. Every single mufassir of Holy Quran says that on the morning of Mubahala, Holy Prophet of Islam came out of his house. Holy Prophet of Islam came out of his house and he was holding the hand of Hassan and he had Hussein alayhi salam in his other arm, and the holy lady was behind him and Amirul Mu'mineen was behind her. Even now, some people are still in the hope that, the plural has been used. There's only 4 other people here. Maybe we might get a chance to be included in this event of Mubahala. So they all asked, they say, Ya Rasulullah, what about us? And the Holy Prophet says, nobody else. The Holy Prophet says, nobody else. Even though the plural is used, Holy Prophet says nobody else. If this event had taken place in the first year of the Holy Prophet's life, of the announcement of prophethood, people may have objected. They may have said, there were no Muslims. There were only a few people. So the Holy Prophet took his family. No, it takes place right at the end of the Holy Prophet's life to show that there's so many Muslims, so much choice for the Holy Prophet of Islam to take. Yet, he only picks these people. Why does he pick them? There's a couple of reasons. One reason that's mentioned is that in the Holy Quran, sometimes the plural is used for the individual as a means for respect. Even today in the Arabic language, the plural is used as a way to respect people, as a manner of addressing people whom you have respect with. I'll give you an example. How many Iraqis in the room? Yeah? There's a couple, right? Okay. So when you meet somebody, after you say salam, you say shlonak. How are you? Right? That you say to your friends. You say to people who are the same age as you. Someone older than you, you say shlonkum. Use the plural. Why? As a matter of respecting this person. Right? So this is one explanation that Mufassirin gave. That the plural that's been used in this verse is as a matter of respect. Other explanation is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves the category open. This is one example. It's been used in the Quran on a number of occasions. For example, in Surah Al-Imran, Jibreel is addressed in the plural as a matter of respect. In Surah 5 verse 55, Amirul Mu'mineen is addressed in the plural as a matter of respect. So this is something that's used in the Quran on a number of occasions. Another explanation is given is that the criteria is left open. But the issue is this. The issue is that the final part of the verse, the criteria that the la'ana will go upon those who are the liars, means the Holy Prophet can only take those who are the best of the best. There's no room for anyone who isn't the best. And there's only these people who fit into that category, nobody else. The door is left open. If you had fitted into this category, the Holy Prophet would have taken you. But because nobody else fits into this category, that's why Holy Prophet of Islam doesn't take anyone else. There's one more thing. The formation of the procession of Mubahala is very interesting. The Holy Prophet is in the front with Hassan and Hussein. Then the Holy Lady is behind him, and then Amirul Mu'mineen is behind her. One explanation, very beautiful, that's mentioned by one of the ulama about this formation is they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cared so much for the hijab of the Holy Lady that He places the Holy Prophet in front and Amirul Mu'mineen behind, so that nobody from the front sees her, nor anybody behind sees her. They go further. They say that the Holy Prophet of Islam will place his footstep, then Hazrat Zahra will place the footstep on his footstep, and then Amirul Mu'mineen will place his footstep on her footstep. So even her footstep is covered both from the ground and from the sky. That's how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala safeguards the hijab of Hazrat Zahra. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala. But there's one more explanation. Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use the plural? When He's talking about the women. He says, bring your women. Yet the Holy Prophet of Islam apparently only takes one woman. The demand is for plural, yet he only takes one woman. But if we look at it from another angle, maybe we'll be able to see how this category of the three women fits. Holy Prophet of Islam on the day of Mubahala doesn't take one woman, he takes three women. You ask me how? The Holy Prophet of Islam takes on the day of Mubahala the daughter of Nabuwat. The Holy Prophet of Islam on the day of Mubahala takes the wife of Wilaya. The Holy Prophet on the day of Mubahala takes the mother of Imama. Three women. وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ. The demand was bring three women. The Holy Prophet of Islam brings three women. Now this final category, وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ. Bring yourselves and we'll bring ourselves. Now, as far as sons is concerned and as far as women concerned, Amirul Mu'mineen doesn't fit into these categories. Only category left is أَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ. Now, Holy Prophet of Islam, when he's taking Amirul Mu'mineen, he means he's taking him in this category. Some Mufassirin tried to say, no, he didn't take Amirul Mu'mineen in this category. In fact, Anfusana only refers to the Holy Prophet of Islam. Let's take this example. This verse perhaps doesn't prove it. If this was the only verse, we could accept this argument. There's another verse. Holy Quran says on 2 occasions in the Holy Quran, addressing the Holy Prophet of Islam directly. Ya ayyuhar Rasul, jahadul kuffar wal munafiqeen. O Messenger of Allah, O you Messenger, directly commanded, fight the kuffar, fight the disbelievers and the hypocrites. Directly commands the Holy Prophet of Islam. Those who fight you, fight them. But throughout history, every single history, Sunni, Shia, Deobandi, Baralvi, whichever one you want to take, even non-Muslim history, every single history tells us Holy Prophet of Islam never directly participated in any battle. Throughout his whole life, Holy Prophet of Islam does not directly participate in any battle. Yet the command is you have to fight in the battle. But he doesn't participate. Only explanation is, there's 2 explanations. Either Holy Prophet of Islam disobeys this command. This is inconceivable. We can't accept this explanation. Other explanation is that the one who fights in the place of the Holy Prophet of Islam is exactly like the Holy Prophet. وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ, bring yourselves and we'll bring ourselves. Amirul Mu'mineen is the self of the Holy Prophet of Islam. That he fights in the place of the Holy Prophet, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala considers that the Holy Prophet of Islam fighting. Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa Now what happens? So this is whom he takes. Every tafsir says these are the only people he takes. Everyone wants to be part of the Mubahala, but the Holy Prophet of Islam doesn't take anyone. Amongst his sons he takes Hassan and Hussein. Amirul Mu'mineen, after the revelation of this verse, never ever ever refers to Hassan and Hussein as his own sons again. Every time he refers to them, he says, these are the sons of Rasulullah. The Holy Quran has said so now. The Holy Quran has said, وَأَبْنَانَا وَأَبْنَاكُمْ. Now, from this day onwards, till they live, the Holy Prophet of Islam's sons they will be called. Because the verse of the Quran has said they're the sons of Rasulullah. Now they're going to the Mubahala. So what happens? Abu al-Harith had said, what? If he comes with the companions, do the Mubahala. If he comes with the family, don't do the Mubahala. They see not only has he come with the family, he's come with the best of the best. Abu al-Harith says to his fellow compatriots, he says, I see faces that if they were to order the mountains to leave their place, they would leave. Can we have salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad? He says, I see the faces that if they were to order the mountains to leave their places, the mountains would leave. We won't do the Mubahala with them. Abu al-Harith comes to the Holy Prophet, he says, we take our claim back for the Mubahala. But they don't become Muslims either. They say, we'll accept your authority, we won't do Mubahala. We will not challenge your authority. What did this prove? What does this action of theirs prove? And what's the lesson from it? Number one, it proves that this was a Mubahala between Tawheed, belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, and Shirk, including people in uluhiyyat, in divinity. If they had been confident that their belief was true, they would have done the Mubahala. But they didn't. By not doing the Mubahala, they proved that Tawheed is the original religion and Shirk was added later on. Tawheed is the original religion. Every single prophet preached the message of Tawheed, including Jesus Christ alayhi salam, who never claimed in his whole life that I'm the Son of God. Their action at Mubahala proves that they accepted that Tawheed is the original religion. If their claim was true that Shirk was original, they would have continued the Mubahala. They didn't. But what did they do? They accepted that their claim was incorrect, but they didn't accept the religion of Islam. Who started this behavior? This action, this reaction that you accept something but you don't change your beliefs. First person to do this was Iblis. He says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after he's thrown out of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says what? He says, I'm going to sit on Sirat al-Mustaqim and I'm going to misguide everyone except for your righteous servants. He acknowledges them. He realizes that there are certain people whom he cannot misguide, but he doesn't accept them. This is what they did on the day of Mubahala. They realized that these are people whom we can't challenge, but we don't accept them. Lesson for us, you and me. What? It's not sufficient to accept Ahlulbayt alayhi salam. Even the people of Najran accepted that they were great. It didn't do anything for them. The challenge is not to accept they're great. Everybody accepts that. The challenge is to be like they want us to be. The challenge, the demand, the requirement from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not to acknowledge that Ahlul Bayt are great. Everyone acknowledges that. The ones who don't acknowledge that, they're either lying or they are entrenched in so much hate that they can't realize it. But that's not the guarantee for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. That's not the demand, what He wants from us. What He wants is for me to follow Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, for me to act on their teachings. This is why He says in the famous hadith, He gives the parable of what? He says, the parable of my Ahlul Bayt kasafinatin Nuh. It's like the ark of Nuh. Man rakibaha naja. Whoever boards the ark will be saved. If somebody stands outside and they praise the ark, they say this is a very good ark, this is a very well built ark, this is a very beautiful ark, this ark will survive all the storms, will that person be saved? That person will not be saved because they didn't board the ark. So it's not sufficient for me to say Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam were great, to say that they were amazing, they did all of these things. This is important. The next step is I have to board the ark. I have to follow their teachings. The day of Mubahala is telling me that it's not sufficient for me to say Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam are great, that they are the most truthful ones, which the people of Najran acknowledge. No, I have to follow their teachings in order for me to be saved. If I want salvation, then it's through them by following what they told me to do. So what else did it tell us? It told us the Quran is not sufficient. Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam are necessary. If Quran was sufficient when the verse was revealed, they would have gone away. They wouldn't come to Mubahala. They came to Mubahala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed them that just as we have Quran in the words, we have a walking, talking, speaking Quran, and they are Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Why? Because everything you find in the Quran, you will see in the lives of Ahlul Bayt. There's nothing that's in the Quran which isn't in their lives. And there's nothing that's in their lives which isn't in the Quran. That's what it means when the Holy Prophet Islam says, I'm leaving you two things. Thaqalain means two weighty things which are exactly the same. Quran isn't sufficient by itself. Ahlulbayt alayhim salam are necessary. Day of Mubahala told us. What else did it tell us? It told us that the people of Najran saved themselves from la'na, from damnation, from being removed of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they didn't engage in the Mubahala. But the verse is going to remain in the Quran until the Day of Judgment to tell us what? To tell us that up until the Day of Judgment, whoever comes up against these people at Mubahala, whoever challenges them, he can be anything but he can't be truthful. Whoever challenges the people of Mubahala can be anything, he can't be truthful. What separates the day of Mubahala from the day of Fadak is only a few days, a matter of weeks. Yet there was nobody there to stand up and say, how dare you ask witnesses from someone whose truthfulness Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guaranteed on the day of Mubahala? Till the Day of Judgment, whosoever claims anything contrary to that, the ayah of Mubahala will continue reminding them, فَنَجْعَلْ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْكَاذِبِينَ. The la'na of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is upon those who lie. Because everyone on this side was truthful. Holy Prophet of Islam told us one more thing on the day of Mubahala. I have brought my masterpieces to Mubahala. These are my masterpieces. These are people for whose every single action I can vouch for. Every single action. Till the Day of Judgment. Now when Amirul Mu'mineen, when he remains patient, don't question his action. Holy Prophet of Islam has vouched for his truthfulness. When Fatima al-Zahra claims Fadak, don't question her action. Holy Prophet has vouched for her truthfulness. When Hassan al-Mujtaba signs the peace treaty, don't question his motives. The Holy Prophet of Islam has vouched for his truthfulness. When Hussein goes to Karbala, don't question his motives. Holy Prophet of Islam has vouched for his truthfulness. Day of Mubahala is telling us this. These are my masterpieces. I had the choice of 100,000 people. Out of them I took only these 4. To tell you what? These are the people who I can vouch every single action of theirs. He's telling us one more thing. Practical lesson for you and me. This is my family. This is the family I made, so I can vouch for them. So that when I preach to people, nobody turns around and says to me, what about your family? I can turn around and say to them, look at my family. Whoever wants to go and preach to other people, start the preaching at home. Holy Prophet of Islam tells us this. Make sure the people in your own house are masterpieces before you go out and preach to other people. Because otherwise people will turn around and say, what about your family? We say in English, charity starts out at home. It's not just charity, everything. If anyone wants to do anything, it starts at home. In today's day and age, the concept of family, the unit of family is under threat. Holy Prophet of Islam on the day of Mubahala tells us that when it comes to the truth, the only people who will support you are your family. You have to have a family in order for them to support you. You have to have a family worth calling a family for them to support you. Holy Prophet of Islam says, family is the most important thing. This is the final lesson from Mubahala, and this is the lesson we get from every single Imam all the way up to Karbala. It's defined in no better terms than in Karbala. How important family is. When Imam Hussain is leaving Medina, he picks out particular members of his family. Tell us what? Family is the most important thing. Those who come in addition, the companions who come, their rank is great. Their rank is amazing. But family is number one. So that nobody can turn around with the accusation and say, Hussein alayhi salam took his companions, he sacrificed them on the religion of Islam and he saved his family. No. I took my family and I announced that my family are at stake. Companions joined. They said, Ya ibn Rasulullah, it's not possible that we stay alive and the family of Rasulullah killed. But Hussein alayhi salam told us that, remember, family is the most important thing. Family is the most important thing. So I've brought every single member of my family who's worth sacrificing. Every part of my family is being represented on the day of Karbala. And those who are being represented today, or the ones whom we're going to talk about today, are particularly important because they're representing two sides of the family. Two sides of the family. When Imam Hussain alayhi salam leaves Medina, On and Muhammad are not with him. When he arrives in Makkah and he's staying in Makkah, Hazrat Abdullah ibn Ja'far, who's the husband of Lady Zainab Salamullah alayha and the father of On and Muhammad, he comes for Hajj. When he comes for Hajj, he comes to visit Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Sayyidah Zainab Salamullah alayha has done the marriage contract with Abdullah ibn Ja'far on the understanding that when Imam Hussein goes on a journey, her husband will not prevent her from joining her brother. When she hears that Hazrat Abdullah has come to Makkah and he's come to see Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Sayyidah Zainab is very worried. She thinks perhaps Hazrat Abdullah has come to prevent her from going on the journey. So she comes into the tent of Imam Hussain alayhi salam and Hazrat Abdullah sees her. And he says, "Oh Lady Zainab, I have not come here to prevent you from going on this journey. I only came because I wanted to entrust On and Muhammad to Imam." He says, "Ya ibn Rasulullah, if a difficult time comes over you, then sacrifice on my behalf and Muhammad on Zainab's behalf." The evening or the night before Ashura falls, Zainab Salamullah alayha says to her sons, she says, "I want you to be the first ones in the battlefield. Tomorrow morning, you should be the first ones in the battlefield." The morning dawns, many shuhada have come and gone there. Bodies come back into the tents. Sayyidah Zainab sees that her sons are still alive. She's very unhappy. She says to them, "I told you, I wanted you to be the first ones in the battlefield. Why are you still alive?" They say, "Oh my mother, oh our mother, we want to go into the battlefield, but our uncle Hussein doesn't give us permission." Sayyidah Zainab Salamullah alayha comes to Imam Hussein. The narrative states that she says to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, she says, "Oh my brother Hussein, have I ever asked you for anything in our lives? Have I ever asked you for any desire in our lives?" Imam Hussein says, "No." She says, "I am asking you only for one thing." Can you imagine? Can you imagine that a mother who has sons that young is asking her brother for the permission for them to die? You don't see this anywhere, only in Karbala. Only in Karbala. Imam Hussein alayhi salam says, but Zainab, what if their father were to become unhappy at this? So Zainab Salamullah alayha says, oh my brother Hussein, have you forgotten that in Makkah it was their father who came and entrusted them to you and said to you that if a difficult time comes, sacrifice on my behalf and Muhammad on Zainab's behalf. What more difficult time will there be than the day of Ashura? Imam Hussein alayhi salam dresses them. He mounts them on the horse. The narrative states that they're so short that their feet don't reach the stirrup of the horse. They ride into the battlefield of Karbala. Umar ibn Sa'd is shocked at this. He says, how much love does Zainab have for her brother that she sent in her sons to die for Hussein? They are attacked from all sides. The armies of Yazid call out, surely this is the blood of Haydar Karrar and Jafar Tayyar speaking. They're shocked at the fact that young men like this can fight so bravely. Abul Fadl Abbas is watching from the tents. He looks on with pride. Eventually they fall from the horses. They call their uncle Hussein. Hussein alayhi salam goes towards them. He brings their bodies back into the tents. When their bodies are brought, all the women create a circle and they start weeping and wailing for them. In this circle, Zainab Salamullah alayha is nowhere to be seen. People look around, where is Zainab? She has the musalla open, her head is in sajda. She says, oh Allah, oh Allah, praise be to you that you accepted my sacrifice. Allahu Akbar. The day of Ashura passes. Zainab Salamullah alayha goes to Kufa. She doesn't cry for Aun and Muhammad. She goes to Sham. She doesn't cry for Aun and Muhammad. It's mentioned that when all the heads came back, 2 heads remained in the corner. The women of Sham asked, has the mother of these 2 young men died? Zainab Salamullah alayha said, why do you say such a thing? They said, we see that every woman is sitting with a head, but there's no one to take these heads. Zainab Salamullah alayha says, should Zainab cry for Hussein? Should she cry for Abbas? Should she cry for Ali Akbar? Should she cry for Aun Muhammad? May Allah bless your voices. May Allah bless your tears. May Allah give you no grief other than the grief of Ahlulbayt alayhimus salam. Zainab Salamullah alayha doesn't cry for them in Sham. She arrives in Medina. She arrives in Medina. For many days she stays in the house of Imam al-Sajjad. One day Hazrat Abdullah comes to Imam al-Sajjad. He says, Ya Ibn Rasulillah, he says, Ya Ibn Rasulillah, months have passed. Your aunt Zainab has not come home. I request you, ask her to come home. Zainab Salamullah alayha, to her, Imam al-Sajjad comes. He says, oh my aunt Zainab, your husband Hazrat Abdullah came. He asked me, please, you should go to your home. It's many months have passed. It was the order of the Imam. Zainab Salamullah alayha went home. When she arrived at home, now she saw those 2 beds of Aun Muhammad. She saw those musallas. Now she started crying. She says, oh Aun Muhammad, now your mother will cry for you. When she is crying, Hazrat Abdullah stops her. He says, oh my master, oh Zainab Salamullah alayha, tell me about the battle of Karbala. Tell me about the battle of Karbala. Tell me what happened. Zainab Salamullah alayha says, do you want to know how your sons fought? He says, no, tell me how my brother Hussein fought. Allahu Akbar. He says, tell me how my brother Hussein fought. Zainab Salamullah alayha begins to mention the battle of Imam Hussein. She says everybody had been killed. There were bodies all over the ground of Karbala. The whole ground was full of bodies. Hussein alayhi salam rode into the battlefield and he said to the enemy, he said, when somebody has one person dead in their family, that person can't stand straight. Look at me, 72 have died in one day. May Allah bless your tears. May Allah bless your voices. He says 72 have died in one day. And he attacks the army. The first attack is so powerful that the army retreats back so far that their retreat is 10 kilometers behind the land of Karbala. Then he comes to the body of Ali Akbar. He looks down at that broken chest and he says, Ali Akbar, did you see how your father fought today? Then he turns to the enemy. He says, look at the one, look at the battle, look at the fighting of the one who fought after his son was killed. Then he came to the banks of Furat. He looked down to Abu al-Fadl Abbas with no hands. He said, Abbas, Abbas, you had a hurry to go. If you had been alive, we would have fought the enemy together. Then he looks up. He says to the enemy, he says, look at the battle of the one whose back is broken, whose support is gone, whose brother was killed in front of him. Ala wa lanatullahi ala al-qawmi al-zalimin wa saya'lamu alladhina zalamu ayyamun qalabi yanqalibun inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Matam Hussein. Ya Hussein.